Okay, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but it is September 24th, 2020 at 3:32 p.m. And I believe this is entitled a special meeting of the subcommittee for the interviews of the CRA executive director position. Can you please do the roll call?
Perfect, thank you. Vice Chair Odman.
Here.
CRA Director Williams.
Here.
Human Resources Director Gonzalez.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at least we have everything in front of me now. I know we were just sort of going to go over, Linda, you had put together some stuff for us, so maybe if you could run through some of what we've been putting together for the last day or so.
Sure. Yeah, we have now submitted several applicants to the board, including a qualified veteran. And so we have the list that was submitted by the executive director with an amended list that was selected, that was amended on the second day, on the 22nd. And there was agreement on the applicants that were sent over. And there was just one other applicant that we wanted to discuss today to see if we wanted to include the last person as part of the group. There was one person that was not submitted from the highly qualified group. And that was the last person to discuss to see if we wanted to add them in. And then I think we have a complete package ready for the board. We also submitted a binder with all of the applicants' information, their resumes, their questions, along with a PowerPoint that was submitted to go over some basic training if we wanted to do that tomorrow. And I think that's where we are.
Linda, should we not say the name of the applicant that we are discussing?
I think it's okay to say. It's it's all kind of public record at this point, unless Tom feels we shouldn't. I'll defer to Tom.
I'm muted.
You're not muted now. You're good.
Okay. There's no problem in mentioning their names. I do want to remind everybody that the reason for this meeting is so that we can capture what was done earlier, just to make sure we're complying with this sunshine law. So Linda and Raquel worked on a summary of prior actions. I don't see anybody from outside the city here as a public citizen, but I don't know if you have seen, Vice Mayor, that amended summary of bullet points? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So if there's nobody here, am I correct, Tom, that nobody else is here from the public?
I see someone on the call from the public.
Okay, then we should probably have Linda read the summary, knowing that Raquel had made revisions to it, and she can summarize her points at the end or at the beginning, but should probably read the summary just so the person who's from the public can hear what happened.
And then,
Okay.
Tom, do we also have to make the decision about which we're going to go with, the amended version or not?
No, I think, again, if there's concerns about the summary and you want to make those revisions, you can do that before it's entered into the record.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll go ahead and read the summary. So we just said, in preparation for the meeting, below is a summary of our discussions. Human Resources provided an initial application review and sorted applications as either highly qualified, qualified, or not qualified. Those highly qualified were initially determined by the desired requirement of 7 years of related work experience, including 3 years of CRA management experience. Within the highly qualified group, additional factors were then considered to rank the candidates, including degree, whether it was a master's or a bachelor's certification, years of director level experience, years of management level experience, and municipal experience. The 104 applications were discussed by the subcommittee on September 18th at 5 o'clock. During this meeting, HR was asked to finalize the review of the 104 applications, finalize the ranking over the weekend, and create a training PowerPoint prior to the next scheduled subcommittee meeting on Monday, September 21st at 4:45 p.m. On Sunday, September 20th, the updated ranking for the 104 applications was provided to the subcommittee. On Monday, September 21st, legal reviewed the PowerPoint, and the final PowerPoint was provided to the subcommittee prior to the second subcommittee meeting scheduled for September 21st at 4:45 p.m.
Linda, let me stop. Linda, let me stop you for a second. You're reading from the one you wrote, not the one Raquel amended.
Yes. Did you want me to read from the other one?
I want to read from the one Raquel amended, and if you have differences at the end, then you would let both of them know. But please
Okay.
use the one that's been
Let me
amended.
go. Let me go back.
Start from the beginning. I'm sorry. I should have called it
Okay.
earlier.
No problem. Okay. Let me read. Okay. Reading from the amended version now. Human Resources prepared an initial application review and sorted applications as either highly qualified, qualified, or not best qualified. HR determined the criteria to be used on the application review document without prior input from the subcommittee. HR provided this sorted list to the subcommittee on 9/18/20. Those highly qualified were initially determined by HR by the desired requirement of 7 years of related work experience, including 3 years of CRA experience. However, HR included some candidates on the initial and subsequent highly qualified lists who did not have the 3 years of CRA experience. Within the highly qualified group, additional factors were considered by HR to rank the candidates, including degree, master's or bachelor's, certification, years of director level experience, years of management level experience, municipal experience. Although HR created a ranking format, the subcommittee did not utilize HR's ranking factors to evaluate the candidates, since many of the factors and criteria used by HR were not included in the job announcement as minimum or desired requirements. HR also included some candidates on the highly qualified list who do not have the desired requirement of a master's degree. The subcommittee used HR's prepared application review document as a conversational tool only, not a ranking tool, since the criteria factors included did not align directly with the job announcement. Applications were briefly discussed by the subcommittee on 9/18/20 at 5 p.m. During this meeting, HR offered to finalize the review of the 104 applications, noting that HR had to quickly review the additional 70+ applications that came in and revise the application review document over the weekend. HR also volunteered to create a training PowerPoint related to interview do's and don'ts prior to the next scheduled subcommittee meeting on Monday, 9/21 at 4:45 p.m. On Sunday, 9/20, HR updated the application review document for the 104 applications and provided the document to the subcommittee. On Monday, 9/21, legal reviewed the PowerPoint, and the final PowerPoint was provided to the subcommittee prior to the second subcommittee meeting scheduled for 9/21 at 4:45 p.m. During the 9/21 subcommittee meeting, it was requested that HR provide hard copies to the board of the identified applicants by 9/22 at 5 p.m., which was completed. Also, during the 9/21 subcommittee meeting, the executive director suggested an option 2 expedited hiring timeline, which was subsequently added to the PowerPoint. The executive director noted that the option 1 timeline prepared by HR would take this process beyond the Thanksgiving holiday. On review, the vice mayor suggested the following candidates, all from the HQ highly qualified list: Allison Justice, Michael Chen, Kemal Cox, Patrick Brett, Gendon Hall, Shane Corbin, Ricardo Noguera, Robert Wallace. The executive director additionally suggested Evan Francher from the qualified list, as this candidate had CRA executive director experience, but not the full 3 years of CRA experience, and some people on the HR HQ list did not have the other desired requirements or 3 years of CRA experience. Further, on 9/21, the executive director provided a draft memo to the subcommittee for review and comment. The subcommittee members reviewed and offered no changes to the memo. The executive director then sent the final memo to the board for the Friday, 9/25 scheduled board meeting, names of applicants and PowerPoint. After discussion with HR, executive director, and legal added 2 additional applicants to the list, and a second memo went out to the board on Tuesday, 9/22/20. On 9/22/20, the HR director additionally suggested the following candidates be added: Mark Starling as the qualified veteran, Brian Bergen from the HQ list, Robert Frank from the HQ list. Upon further review of the HQ list, HR suggests the following candidate be added, as they are the only other candidate from the HQ list not included. This is for discussion on Thursday, 9/24/20 at the scheduled meeting. Samuel Blatt, this candidate has 0 years of CRA experience, but was included by HR on the HQ list. Therefore, in summary, this would include 11 candidates on the highly qualified list, 1 candidate on the qualified list, and 1 qualified veteran, for a total of 13 candidates for the board to consider. And the note was, I count 12 candidates since Samuel Blatt was not sent to the board to date. If the subcommittee or board wish to use other criteria, that is certainly an option and always open for discussion. This information should expedite the discussions tomorrow. And please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, if I may, at this point, I know Linda had prepared the summary and then Raquel asked to edit it, which she did. That's what was read to you. I think Linda has some comments she wants to make on the revised edited version before you proceed.
Yes.
And I have a correction also. I have it there. I left it there that Mark Starling was added as a qualified veteran. He was added prior to the addition of Brian Bergen and Robert Frank. So that should be corrected in the record. Mark Starling was one of the names that was submitted to the CRA board with the memo. And the other 2 candidates were added later in the subsequent email.
Okay.
And just very briefly, just to note that on September 18th, we initially did draft the document for review with the criteria that was discussed with the subcommittee. There were no alternative methods suggested from the subcommittee. All candidates that were submitted were on the highly qualified list, with the exception of the qualified veteran, which must be included per Florida law, and also the 1 additional candidate that was moved by the executive director, Evan Francher, with no objections to the list. The name Robert Wallace is actually Roderick Wallace on the note. My notes indicated that he was referred by the executive director, not the vice mayor, but the vice mayor can clarify that one point. And then the last point, I think the executive director just also corrected, which was that the qualified veteran, Mark Starling, was discussed during the subcommittee meeting, and he was submitted to the board on the initial review on September 21st. Those are my only comments.
So as far as Wallace, I don't believe he was on my list, but I have no problem with him being there. Ultimately, I don't have any problem with any of the additional people that came in. I mean, the goal was to have a sort of a good review of all the resumes, and with the information that you gave, along with the general review of the resumes, was to come up with a list. And I think, we could narrow it down further, but I think that's probably minutia. I think that 13 is an acceptable number for people to go through. And being that you provided them the binders, everyone should have enough time to do their work. So if you think it's best practice, Linda, to put in Mr. Blatt, then we can go ahead and do so.
Yeah, I would suggest we do that. As the executive director pointed out, she felt some others did not have the 3 years of CRA. He was on the highly qualified list. I think it's better to be more inclusive. As you pointed out, Vice Mayor, it's 1 additional person for the board to look at. We can simply send out that resume. I agree that we worked together well on this and had a very good list and had consensus on who we sent. And I think that it will go a long way with providing the board the ability to get an excellent candidate.
Tom, am I allowed to acknowledge that without asking them a question, am I allowed to acknowledge that 2 of the commissioners are on this call?
That's perfectly fine. It's been sunshine, so we're okay.
Okay. So, you know, for my commissioners that are on the line and the others that maybe will listen to the meeting after, they've been provided an abundance of time to review. How are we going to get Sam Black's resume to them?
I can
Linda?
send an email.
Okay, so we'll email it. Hopefully they've been able to already start on the other 12, and the expectation is that the week was enough time for them to review those resumes and to come in with their top 3 that they find to be, you know, the most qualified or whatever they think is going to be best for the CRA, and we'll have the discussion at that time. Is it easier when you give them a list of 5 or 8 or 10? Sure, but I'm not going to compromise the integrity of this process after all the work that the 3 of us did, just to make it shorter. So I say that, you know, those commissioners that have their binder to go ahead and start looking through it, come in prepared on Friday, and hopefully we can narrow it down to 3 and get the process going.
Vice Chair, if I
Does
may add,
that seem reasonable?
if I may add something, Vice Chair, I just want to say for the record that all of the applications that came in that were sent to me were forwarded to the entire CRA board. So I just want everyone to know that all of the applications have been submitted to the CRA board in excess of the ones that we are discussing today.
Oh, so they got the full 100?
Correct. Via email, yes, every application submitted to every board member.
Okay, so if they are feeling so ambitious, they can go through the 100+ applications, or they can look at the list that was a collaborative piece of work from Linda and Raquel and I. Linda put together some really helpful information. So I think that between that and you know, looking at everything that we looked at, I think it's a really great list.
And Vice Mayor, if I may, the PowerPoint also is really designed to be informational, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, you know, that the board may have regarding just general interviewing. So I think that's a good document for everyone to have also that will help them through the process.
Any thoughts, Director Williams?
I don't know if there's a board member who would like to have the 13th application printed. So I'm going to send, when I send it electronically, I will inquire about whether anyone would like that to be printed and ready for them in their mailbox.
Could you call the commissioners, because I know there's generally at least one board member that prefers to physically read it. So can you do phone calls?
Definitely. I'll do so right after we end this meeting.
Okay. Was there anything else we were intended to cover?
No, I think that was it.
Tom, is there anything else that you need us to cover?
Again, even though this is not designed for like citizens' comments, the state law and sunshine law was amended about 4 years
Okay.
ago, that if a person from the public wishes to speak at a meeting before a decision is made, they should be given that opportunity. So I
Okay.
don't necessarily would invite the commissioners who were on the call, because they'll be talking tomorrow. But if the person
Okay.
from the public wishes to speak, we could see if they wish to speak.
Is there anybody who would like to speak? If you just raise your hand. Anybody? Okay, so I will take that as there's nobody that wants to speak at this time, and we will have our meeting on, what time is the meeting on Friday?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. All right, at 4 o'clock we will continue this then. All right, if there's nothing else, then I think we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everybody.